Welcome to another update of the Glenngary Tramway. You join us here at home following a successful Scarborough District Railway Modellers annual show, and we were kept very busy. Inevitably we've arrived home with a couple of jobs on the maintenance list which we're going to tackle before our next outing. Primarily they consist of we managed to damage one of the lights on the incline. That is inevitable when you're travelling backwards and forwards and packing up. Also the smoke unit that's fitted in the top station, managed to get a replacement, so we're going to be fitting that, and just some battery replacements in some of the lighting units, which were definitely showing signs of going flat. So better get on with it. With the covers removed, we can see the tram system from the rear side, or the non-spectator side as that would be. Down here on the left is the main control panel with all the timers, relays and everything built in. The switch are all mounted up the side, which controls the way we can put it into automatic mode. We can switch it to manual. We can also adjust the speed it runs, and we've also got visual check on the voltage running in the system. That actually dates from the days when we could run it on the battery pack. I don't anymore, main reason being that the battery packs we had were, we had 4 of them, and they're in the form of the yellow car starters, the little jump start leads on, and inconsistency between each pack was so great that one we'd get 3 hours running, and another you'd be down to an hour even though it's fully charged. So eventually we moved away from that and started using little power packs, very similar to the ones that power laptops. They run at 12 volts, and we've had no problems with them ever since. Eventually the voltmeter, if we ever get round to changing the wiring, we can do away with that. There are other things that we would more like to use. The other thing that you probably can just make out down here is a counter that increments every time the trams run. That's how we know the distances. We've kept a record since the day they were built, and some of the trams now have covered in excess of 25 miles. So we're up around 46,000 times up and down. Anyway, we better get on with some work, and the first job is going to be to change the battery in the remote. Now, this remote unit is what powers the LED lighting system that runs up the side of the incline, which I'll show you in a minute. Very easy to do. Change the battery, you just withdraw the back, replace with another battery. That battery's lasted 3 years, so you can't complain at that. So we'll get that up and running, and we'll reposition the camera, and we can show you the LED lights, which normally aren't visible from the spectator side. Right, now we've moved the camera, you can see in this shot that the LED lights actually run up the back of the front wall. So the effect is it illuminates the whole of the back scene and the side of the trams, but the spectators, which are viewing from this side of the wall, don't actually see the light source as such. And it gives a nice mellow effect, and we can set it via this unit here. That's the controller which drives the LEDs. This little device here is the infrared sensor, so when you press the buttons on the remote control, they're picked up by this and output whatever instructions you've given to the LED array. This consists of 4 different coloured LEDs, and in various combinations can give you a multitude of colours. You can actually even mix the colours to make up your own particular shade that you require. It will also go into a flash mode, which we don't use very often, but you can have it gently scrolling through all the different colours, which is a gentle build up to brightness and then fade into the next colour, which proves quite effective. We also have a second LED array, which is mounted, if I can just move the camera, which is mounted underneath the front. This is fitted to give illumination to this area, and we use that if we're running the red trams. We can have this with a red tint, or if the green trams are running, green and blue for the blue ones. These 2 units are both powered from separate controllers. There's one of these mounted at the bottom of the incline, so they are quite independent and can be run off their own control units. The next job on the list is to repair the light that's taken a bit of a bash. Unfortunately, these have proved to be quite vulnerable in the position they are currently in. The problem is when we put the green cover over, it does tend to press on these. We've come up with 1 or 2 ideas to try and eliminate it, but so far we haven't had a great deal of success. But luckily they are quite robust. They're made out of die-cast metal and a bit of glue applied to the bottom, straighten it up, and that'll be another job done. The last job on the list to do is to replace the smoke unit in the top station. Now, the smoke unit lives housed in this chimney here. It's only been in service for about 20 hours and it failed. Now, we're not quite sure why. One possibility is that these units actually run on 16 to 18 volts. Now, we're running it at 12 and it wasn't really performing. So I obtained a little circuit that boosts the voltage, takes it up from 12 to anything up to 20 volts. Now, it's normally set at about 16 volts. Now, the way it does it, it uses high frequency. It could be the high frequency content that could be causing this to burn out. However, talking to the gentleman who supplied this, he said the oil you use can play a big part in the life of them. Now, he's recommended that we have a go with this oil, so I think the first thing we'll do is get this fitted and we'll see how it performs before we condemn the little step up circuit or the oil. It could be that we were just unlucky and it just decided to fail, so time will tell. So we'll get this fitted, and while I've got it in pieces, I'll show you the little circuit that is used to convert the voltage. Right, this is a little circuit. Didn't cost very much. Comes like most things from China. You stick 12 volts DC in, and the output comes out straight off to the smart unit, and you control the voltage by adjusting this pot here. It uses like a form of high frequency to boost the voltage, and it could be that content that has seen off the unit itself. Unlikely, but there's always a chance. So what we'll do is we'll fit the new one. We'll get the meter on and just check that we are getting 16 volts, so we're not overrunning. They will go up to 18, but we'll stick with 16. The smoke output from it was adequate. We don't want it smoking too much. It's just supposed to be a little diesel generator that's running, so we don't want to fill the place with fog. But we'll get it in, give it a try and see what happens. With the glue seal broken from around the roof area, it allows us to pull the chimney up and break it into its three constituent parts, when I can say it, and then just gently pull wires away. Leaves us with 1, 2, 3 and 1 rather poorly smoke unit. So next is just a reverse of that procedure, fit it back in, and then hopefully we'll give it a try. With the smoke unit refitted, don't know if the camera will focus on that, but you can see it just sat snugly in there, and there is an air gap around it. That's quite important. After 10 hours running, this unit had not heated up significantly the outer part of the chimney, and you could virtually put your finger in and you didn't get burnt. So it wasn't a heat issue that's particularly done it, although the heat could have taken the element out, but we'll just have to see. So we'll get this fitted back in and see how we go. That's it connected, and we can do a quick check with the ohm meter just to see. There we are, we're getting a read in, and if we check the old one, there's nothing at all. So that one for the bin, and hopefully this one will smoke merrily. Before we reassemble the top station and give the smoke unit a try, just point out a few things while we've got it all in bits. This little chap here is a small camera, and we use that to provide pictures in the form of a driver's eye view, and we have a screen mounted at the front, so when people are operating the trams in the manual mode, they actually can view the screen and get the view as if they were the driver actually sat in the control booth, which was actually sat here between the two boarding doors. We've already discussed this little chap, the voltage step-up unit. Secreted down in the bottom here, when it's all assembled, would be the head of the motor sticking up. The motor's quite long, and it is mounted vertically, and it has a planetary gearbox on the end, so that does mean that it protrudes quite high up into this area, so we keep that free for that. The foam is just to provide a bit of sound deadening to stop it reverberating when the motor's running. Funny enough, we had to change the motor recently from the original, and this one is significantly quieter. You can hardly tell it's running. The old one was probably noisy from new, but we just assumed that we had to live with that. But no, I'm very pleased with the new one. It whispers along. Anything else to show you? Yes, you may have noticed these wires going across. They're supplying the voltage, 12 volts, to the lamps which run round the edge of the top station. They are actually what we call lighthouse LEDs, and if I tip it up a little bit, you might just you can see them going round. Now, the odd thing with these LEDs is the different colours are slightly different voltages. So if the camera can pick it out, there's a series of resistors here. This is to drop the voltage suitable for the different strings, because we've got blue, white over the door, green, yellow and red, and they all require slightly different voltages. The resistors also supply or serve another function, that is to act as current limiting to stop little things burning themselves up, and they've proved quite reliable. So the only other job to do with them really is to paint these wires. We'll paint them the same colour as the roof. Because they're tight up against the roof, you can't actually see them when everything's in situ, but it just helps to blend them a bit more, just in case you could. The other thing I want to show you before I put the lid on is the figures. Figures have been painted by a chap at the SDRM club. He normally paints N-gauge figures. To me these are small enough, so how he manages it with the small ones, but he reckons these are giants. But he's done a stunning job, so I just want to show you those, and then we'll get it all boxed up and see if we can make some smoke. Right, these are the figures, painted by one of the club members. Bearing in mind, most of these had a very oriental flavour to them, because after all they had come from Hong Kong, and of probably Chinese origin. But it just shows what you can do with a bit of patience and a steady hand. How Jeff manages to paint the N-gauge, I don't know, because to me these are exquisite. And he has, up to press, he's done about 30 of them for the trams. Haven't broke it to him yet, but I could do with a few more doing, but we'll save that for when he's in a good mood. There we have it. We might just turn the voltage down a little bit so it doesn't produce too much smoke, but we're back in business. And there we have the leads we were talking about earlier. As we come around the end, the white ones over the door. And there we have the view into the winding house. We'll cover how that works in a future update. So I hope you all enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.